Hello and welcome back to this video. You don't realize your glasses are dirty until you really start looking through them. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing a story that I experienced. Well, I'm going to be sharing a story of an experience I had when I was at Mass this past weekend. I had a unique experience that I've never had before, and I think it's really important to talk about it and to share it with people, because I feel like we are in just a period of time where spiritual warfare is extremely high for people that are trying to, well, spiritual warfare is high, period. Okay, there's a lot going on, but if you're trying to battle in the spirit, you're going to be attacked in a way, and so that's what this video is about. It's about a experience that I had and just a gentleman that I feel like was going through spiritual warfare and how that could look, and just how we need to be careful but also have mercy on people and have grace, rather, and if we don't have it, to pray for it. So the experience that I had is last week at Mass. I went into Mass and I was actually a few minutes late, surprise, surprise, going to Mass. And so I came in and there was a man in the back that was standing in the back, and he had a blindfold over his eyes, but it was really strange. Nothing I've ever seen before. It wasn't a ski mask. It wasn't like a bedtime sleeping mask. It almost looked like a shirt was made, but it wasn't. So perhaps I don't know. It almost looked like it was like made for the purpose of blinding yourself. But you could see that he could see through this eye cover. And the man was pacing back and forth, and he was praying an Our Father while the Mass was going on. And he was pretty loud. Like, I was like 5 rows from the back, and so you could hear him praying the Our Father. And I'm looking around thinking, is this normal? Like, is this, why isn't anybody else thinking this is abnormal? But I was late, so I just came in, I sat down, and again, you could hear him praying the Our Father the whole entire time. Well, at one point, I looked back and I saw his shirt said, "I'm so done." And at first, I just thought it was strange. I really didn't think that he was going to cause anybody any harm or anything like that. It eventually got to the point when the priest was starting to consecrate the Eucharist that this gentleman's prayers got louder and faster, as if he was getting agitated. It really, really freaked me out on a spiritual level. My body started to get freaked out, and I'm not somebody that gets scared very easily. Well, I'm jumpy. Let me rephrase that. I am a jumpy person, but I can look at a situation that a lot of people would be fearful of, and I tend not to be afraid. But my spirit got afraid, and my body started shaking. It was almost as if I could feel the anger. I didn't even look back. I could just hear he was praying louder and he was praying faster. And so I was like, no, this is not good. Like, I just imagined something really bad happening. I'm like, why isn't anybody addressing this man in the back? So what I did is I got my bag. I moved to the outer seats, because in this particular church, there are chairs on the side of the walls. So I sat in a way where I could view this man. And again, he is pacing back and forth as he's praying, and his shirt, I don't know if I've already mentioned this, on his cutoff t-shirt, it says, I'm done, or something along the lines of like, I'm fed up, I'm done. And I'm just thinking, like, how is this normal? How is this normal that there's a man in the back pacing? Keep in mind, his eyes are covered and everybody else is staying completely calm. Well, there was a man standing near the back, a big gentleman that was kind of keeping an eye on the situation, and he noticed that I moved. And when he saw that I moved, he got closer to that guy. So I just started praying the rosary, because I was like, this is something really bad is going to happen. I saw a video not too long ago of a priest getting, I want to say he was stabbed in the middle of Mass. And I just imagined a really bad scenario. And so and on top of that, again, my body started shaking. So I just moved over to the side. I started praying the rosary. I felt like God say to me, like, I want you to go speak to this man. And I'm thinking, I am not going to, first of all, I always try to listen to what God tells me to do, but I'm thinking I'm going to make this guy pop off. And I do not want to do this in the middle of the Eucharist. Like, let's just get through the Eucharist. Something about the Eucharist is triggering him. Again, spiritual warfare. Let me get through that and then I'll talk to him. Like, but I didn't want to make a scene. So what I did is I ended up being the last person in line. I walked up to get the Eucharist. And then when I went back, instead of going to sit back down, I went to go speak to this man. And keep in mind, he's got his cut off t-shirt, says I'm done. Something's covering his eyes. And as I'm talking to him, he doesn't stop praying the Our Father. And I said to him, can I speak to you outside? He just shakes his head, yes. And I'm like, okay. So I go out into the main lobby and I said, are you okay? And I want to say he just shook his head, yes. And I said, because you don't seem like you're okay. Are you sure you're okay? And he was just like, yes, I'm okay. He pulls out, actually, I think the first thing is I said, hi, my name's Terri. What's your name? At some point I said that. And he pulled out, he wouldn't tell me his name. He pulled out his ID and he showed me his name. I'm not going to say his name, but and then I noticed on the ID it had something, it wasn't a normal ID. So I was like, okay, well, he's not afraid to show who he is. But then I also realized that he did this. He's had to have done this to everybody that is concerned, because everybody just kind of like forgets that he's even there. So anyways, he just kind of like says he's fine. And so I'm like, okay, well, at least I addressed the fact that he's standing back there. Like, I addressed him as a person. So I go back and I sit back down. Well, the man comes back and he is still praying the Our Father, but his anger has subsided. He's not as angry. And you can tell by the way he's speaking that he's calmed down a little bit. So I'm just like, this is, excuse me, but this is freaking weird. Sorry for that noise. This is very, very weird. Like, why is this allowed to be back there? Like, somebody needs to help this man. I don't know what he's going through, but there should be something being done to help this man. And so Mass ends and he is the person holding the door for everybody while he's still praying with his eye mask on, and everybody's just going about their business. I don't know if he's there every week at this time, but everybody was immune to it. So I go back up to him as I'm leaving. I wait for everybody to leave because I'm not trying to create a scene, but I am trying to address the issue. I don't remember exactly what I said at this point. I just tried to have a conversation with him. He wouldn't talk to me. He would whisper. He would like mouth. It was like charades. He would mouth what he was trying to say. And it was getting very frustrating because here I'm trying to have a conversation with this man who's disturbed. He didn't want to talk to me. And so I called him out on it because as a previous teacher, you learn to just be straightforward. Like when a kid's acting out, you just call it for what it is. And I said, you know, it's really interesting that you can pray the Our Father, but when I go to talk to you, you won't talk to me. And he laughed. And it was almost like a laugh of like, you got it. Like, you got what I'm trying to say. I was just like, listen, you know, is there anything I can pray for you for? And then he laughed. And it was a laugh of like, who do you think you are to be praying for me? Again, I could be being presumptuous, but you could tell by reading his facial expressions, it was a laugh of like disgust. And I was just like, okay, I guess you don't need any prayer. So I said, I don't know, something happened and I just was like, okay, well, you know, I addressed him by his name and I said, I hope you have a good day. Oh, that's what happened in between then. I said to him, do you pray the rosary? Because I could tell he was disturbed, but I wasn't sure if he was Catholic because there wasn't a love for the Catholic Church in his demeanor. What I gathered, I feel like he was trying to use symbolism to express his frustration. I would be really reading into this, but I felt like he was trying to symbolize his frustration with the Catholic Church because he seemed like a very, very smart man. And I'll explain what the symbolism that I think he was trying to express, whether him or some sort of spirit. I asked him if he prayed the rosary and he said no. Oh yeah, this is another point. Sorry, I'm all over the place because I'm just trying to remember the situation. It was very disturbing. I said to him, is there anything I can pray for you for? And he said, my 2 wives. But he put up He said, my 2 wives. And I'm like, okay, like, it wasn't the middle finger, but in the moment I thought it was, and I was like, holy crap. Like, what was the point of my 2 wives? But then again, it hit me what he was trying to say, at least what I think he was trying to say. Sometimes you can't understand, I don't want to call him that, but you can't understand why people do what they do, but it felt like it was symbolic. So anyways, I tell him, you know, okay, if you don't pray the rosary, I would suggest that you do. It changed my life with spiritual warfare, and I really think you could benefit from praying the rosary. I said, can you come to my car with me to get a rosary? I'll give you one because I make rosaries. And he said, no, I have to hold the door. And that's when I got frustrated because I'm thinking, nobody else is coming out through this door. You've held the door for everybody. Why are you still here holding the door? So I just said, okay, whatever. I got frustrated. I just said, okay, have a good day, because it felt like he was playing a game with me at this point. So I was just like, okay. Well, then I started walking to my car, and I was just frustrated with the whole entire thing because there shouldn't be a man in the back that's allowed to pace, praying very loudly. I feel like that's very disarming to people, or at least it should be. On top of it, I have this phone strap. I had, about a month or 2 ago, the police came over to me and interrogated me because I had to get up. I had a phone call and I left my purse inside the church, and I had this phone strap like this. And they were like, what are you wearing? What is around your chest? And I'm thinking, wait a second. How is there a man? I got up, I left my purse, and I took a phone call before Mass. How is there a man allowed to be pacing in the back who you can tell is disturbed, that has a shirt that says, I'm fed up with everything? How can we have those 2 totally different situations? And anybody could do anything. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is that we're letting one person, I just felt like it was a unsafe situation to put people in the parish in. And I am not typically a safety fanatic, but again, my body at some point literally started to shake from this situation. Going back to the story, I walked to my car frustrated because I felt like the man was playing games with me. And I had 2 rosaries in my car. I had one for a woman, it was pink, and a blue one I had made. And both were intended for 2 totally different people. I was like, you know what? He said he has a wife, so I'm going to walk over and give him both of them. So I walk back over, I give him the rosaries, I say, I would suggest praying this, and I said his name, and I hope you have a good day. And then I left. It wasn't until I gave him the rosaries that I felt like almost like a sigh of like relief from him. And I don't even think he knows how to pray the rosary. I don't think this man is Catholic. But I think 2 things happened. I gave him something, and I think most people have been ignoring him. And 2, I acknowledged him by his name. And after I did that, I felt peace with the situation. Like, I did everything I can do to help this man with the amount of help he was willing to receive. So with that being said, what is the point of this story? What I think this man was trying to convey was what I think some people struggle with the Catholic Church, which is that it almost feels like you have to go to the Catholic Church in order to receive help, to receive God. And the church is kind of meant to come to people, right? Or to bring people to the church. But we, as the body of Christ, are meant to go out and to be Christians, to be Christ followers. It's not just about praying out loud like he was doing. It was about going out and talking to people that need help. I also think he was trying to relay the message of, you're blind. You people are blind. Like, here I am. You don't see me. Somebody in need. You're just praying out loud, but you don't speak to me. I could be completely wrong. There might have been no symbolism in what this man was doing, but I assure you this was a very smart man. And the fact that he wore the shirt that he wore, I don't think was a fluke. I'm actually curious to go back this week at the same time to see if he's still there, or not still there. Hopefully he's not still there, but if he's there and if he's wearing similar attire and doing the same thing. Crazy situation. I can only imagine the church that I had a police officer come at me would have addressed the situation at some point. And I say this because he immediately knew to give me his ID, and nobody else was having any sort of problem with the situation. I do think there is still a problem with this, because just because somebody might have been patted down or checked out one time doesn't mean that they can't come back into an establishment, be seen as, oh, that's just so-and-so, the man that's always there, and then at some point snap. I do think it's really important that we protect our churches. That doesn't mean we have to put cameras in them, but I do think at some point, there should be, this situation should not continue. And I don't know if it has, these are just assumptions that I have based off how people were acting and what I would expect from leadership within a church. With that being said, I think it's important that we acknowledge our responsibility in situations like this, even as parishioners and lay people. The man didn't really want to receive any help from me, nor do I have any financial means to really help this man. But I did what I could do in this situation to help him, which is to address him. I have occasionally been praying for this guy throughout the week. This is not meant to be a kudos on me video. The point is that as the body of Christ, as Catholics, we do have a responsibility for people within the community, while still maintaining our own responsibilities that we have and enjoying life. I would have liked to see more people interact with him. I find that sometimes within certain communities, that's easier, that seems to be more normal in some, okay, I'm just gonna say it blankly. I don't think that would have ever happened in my previous non-denominational church. People are more apt to be vocal when they see somebody in need in those church settings. However, I don't know how long this has happened. Maybe people have tried, but it would have been nice to see other people give him some sort of acknowledgement. Regardless of that, have grace on people. We are definitely in very strange times politically, spiritually, and just have grace for people. And when you see somebody is struggling, just either don't just pray for them. Definitely pray for them. Acknowledge what they're going through. Say to them, I see you. Are you okay? It makes a difference. And lastly, if you're not doing okay and somebody says, how are you doing? For the love of God, please stop saying I'm good. We can handle if you're not doing okay, all right? Those 10 seconds of just saying I'm not doing well today and somebody listening can make the world a difference. Not just for you if you do that, but if you give space and room for somebody else to say, hey, I'm not doing well today too. All right. God bless. I hope this was fruitful in some sort of way. If you've had a similar experience, if you have any comments, feel free to put them in the comments down below, and I hope you have a blessed day.